we capped off these two vacuum ports here. Do you know what vacuum is?
Yes, I know what vacuum.
What vacuum is? It's suction, right?
Suction,
Yeah, it's negative pressure. Okay, now what this engine does, all these internal combustion engines are basically pumps. They pump air. Okay, they through the carburetor, it sucks air into here as the pistons are going down. They create a vacuum, and that sucks air and fuel mixture into the engine. And as an engine runs, it is constantly creating vacuum. And we use that vacuum to accomplish a number of things in the engine. One thing is this little thing right here. This is a valve. It's a one-way valve. They call it PCV valve, for positive crankcase ventilation. And it's hooked to this big vacuum port right here. And as the engine's running, it's sucking the oxides of nitrogen out of the engine, which is a pollutant. And it makes the engine run cleaner. It also evacuates garbage out of your crankcase that you don't want and sends it into the engine to be burned. And it's a good thing. It doesn't rob any horsepower, anything like that. But what you don't want is you don't want vacuum leaks, because vacuum is part of what helps an engine run efficiently. It's like an air leak if you have a vacuum leak. And so by having these ports here, this one here and this one here unplugged, that's connected to this line hose here is connected to this big hose, and this one just goes into the carburetor. And by having these open without a plug in them, it's going
to suck the air out.
Yeah, it's going to suck air into here.
You want to save the air so it can.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. It's going to create a leak, and that's going to make the engine run poorly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there are two kinds of vacuum. You have manifold vacuum, which is the regular kind of vacuum as your engine's running. It's going to be highest at idle when your carburetor is basically shut, because the engine's sucking real hard, but the carburetor's not opened up to allow more air in, so the vacuum's going to be higher. As you drive, you open your throttle, it opens the throttle blades and creates a bigger opening there, and the vacuum is going to decrease because you have more air going in, but there's less restriction for the air. So the vacuum's, say, is going to be 20 inches at idle, but under full throttle it may only be 3 or 4 inches. Ideally, if your carburetor's the right size for the engine, it'll be 0 under full throttle. Okay? That's manifold vacuum. The other kind of vacuum is ported vacuum or venturi vacuum. And that's vacuum that comes from inside the carburetor. And just like when you open the throttle, your manifold vacuum decreases, your ported vacuum or venturi vacuum is going to increase because the engine's sucking more stuff through the carburetor. And so your ported vacuum is going to be like 0 at idle, but at full throttle it could be up 12, 15 inches. And so this engine has the vacuum advance for the distributor coming off manifold vacuum right here. So it's going to advance the distributor the most when the engine's at idle or part throttle. And then when it's under full throttle, you're going to lose your vacuum advance on the distributor, and so you'll lose a little bit of timing. So what they've done here is there should be a hose going from your ported vacuum source right here to right here. So you've got it from both places. You've got your maximum vacuum advance at idle, and then when you get on it, you lose some of this advance. You're going to get some ported advance, which is going to give you a little bit more
throttle,
a little more vacuum advance in your distributor.
Okay.
Okay, and we're not going to talk about ignition timing right now. We're talking about vacuum. But that's, and there are different ways. Chris Birdsong has a real good video about the importance of vacuum advance on your distributor. I would recommend you watch that video. Go to Chris Birdsong's channel. He did an excellent video on that. But for right now, we're just going to cap off these two so we don't have a vacuum leak. And it'll run just fine. We just don't want any vacuum.
Even if you don't have the hose on there.
Right, even if you don't have the hose, we still, it's more important for us right now not to have any vacuum leaks.
Okay.
You know, if once we get the thing all running and everything, and want to fine tune it, we may watch Chris Birdsong's video and determine how we want to hook up our vacuum advance. So, you got that?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, let's get back on this thing and see if we can get it to run.